Click go live. Let's see if it actually does so, hopefully. It is green. Something I should probably do is get rid of Discord for now, so it doesn't make a bunch of noises. Oh, I just got the notification that we're live on my phone. We are live. Okay, great.
Nope.
All right, welcome everyone to a special Wednesday edition of the 4GwQPodcast podcast. No episode number today because this is a special interview episode. Kind of like a little bit of an interview, a little bit of a state of the Xbox address, if you will. We'll talk with one of the more influential members of the World Wide Web Xbox community. He has his own podcast that is the official podcast of the Xbox One Subreddit. So we have with us this afternoon or evening where he's at, we have Ross Miller. What's going on, Ross?
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We, had to get you on the show. We know of the Party Chat podcast. Ever since that went the official one, we've been checking it out because back in the day, we tried to be the official podcast of the subreddit and got shut down handily when we were in our infancy. And we, we're happy to see that there's a podcast out there that's a lot, very similar to ours in the goal, going after developers and, influential members of the Xbox community. I know you guys have had on some pretty big names, Major Nelson, Acey Bongos, but at the same time, you guys go for the, the smaller developers too. You guys have indie game developers like Ben from Good Catch Games, who just did Bushido. And you guys have had Tokyo 42 devs on and a bunch of people. You guys are big on bringing guests on. That's what we like to do here too. So we're really big fans of the show and appreciate you guys. Appreciate you coming on tonight.
No, thank you again so much for asking me.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into it, I know I kind of stole the intro from you, but maybe you can add on to it and tell us, a little bit how you guys got started, how you got started in podcasting, because I know this isn't your first venture into the medium. So why don't you go ahead and explain who you are and what you've done to get to this point, I guess.
Yeah. So I started podcasting basically because I listened to the IGN UK podcast and I thought, this is really, really cool. I want to do this. So I joined a Facebook group and was speaking to some of the members of that. And we launched a community podcast called the Mighty Duck Podcast. But unfortunately, Disney didn't like us using that name.
I was going to say,
so
okay.
It was quickly rebranded as Out of Lives, where I was there for a very, very long time. And much like the Reddit podcast, it's a community podcast. It was for fans of the Xbox, the IGN UK podcast. So that was quite good with people from IGN on there and things like that. But I then branched out a bit and started appearing on other people's podcasts. And I helped found a podcast with an amazing guy called MC Fixer called My Xbox and Me. Because we both had an absolute love for Xbox. In fact, he still does that podcast to this day. I'm really proud of that. And then after you saying that you tried to get on Reddit, I don't know if I should tell this story. I literally messaged the mods of the subreddit for being quite active on there and said, here's some of my existing work. Would you like to do a podcast? And they fortunately said yes, and a year and a bit later we're where we are now with some amazing guests, some amazing chats, and basically just trying to help out an amazing community and get them as involved as possible in the thing that we love, Xbox.
Yeah, absolutely. And believe me, no offense taken, because when we rolled in there, we had just started, we had no podcasting experience. We were just these average Joes being like, you know what? We need a good Xbox podcast to come in and go after devs, go after, big Xbox guys, give them a good interview from some average gamers. People can actually speak eloquently and whatnot. And obviously you went in there with a full resume, so you guys deserved it. You guys put on a good show. So no offense taken. And, honestly, this show too has kind of branched out a little bit into, just gaming in general. It's not like we just go after Xbox stuff now. So we've kind of changed our focus as well. So we're glad that a great group of guys is over there doing doing the subreddit proud and putting out a good product. So definitely kudos to you guys for that.
Yeah.
Let me
But,
see.
you
Oh,
know,
go ahead, Klaus.
Ross, I wanted to ask you, what was it like when you reached out to, let's say, a big Xbox exec or somebody that agreed to be on your podcast as guest, like Major and Nelson? What was it like when they said yes? Like, how did you guys feel?
Good. Uh, but really good. I'm very lucky that we have someone like Reese Delicious Cheese in the podcast who already has existing relationships with these people. You know, to put it politely, we wouldn't have a lot of the guests if we didn't have those existing relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's an amazing feeling when people like Aaron Greenberg and Graham Boyd, who you've got on the screen there, like say yes to come on. They're very, very positive. You know, Reddit is the biggest Xbox community in the world, with people together. It just recently hit 400k subscribers. So I suppose if you're involved with Xbox, you probably want to be somewhere on the subreddit.
Absolutely.
So I think getting the guests is probably the easier part. But I'll tell you what, even coming on this tonight, I still get butterflies in my stomach.
No.
It doesn't matter if it's Aaron Greenberg or ZPCI Assassin. You know, I'm still going to get a little bit nervous about exactly who I'm going to be speaking to. And yeah, I feel quite privileged to have had some of the guests on.
Assassin, you hear that? He's getting butterflies in his stomach just talking to you, bud. Yeah, I mean, another thing that I think is great about you guys and your podcast is that you do a lot of work to put yourselves out there in a professional manner. I think, like, I grabbed this screenshot here of a tweet you put out, and you guys, this is designed extremely well. I envy it, actually. I take pride in designing stuff for us, but this is simple, to the point, good advertisement to get people excited for guests. I mean, obviously having Acey Bongos on is excitement enough, but at the same time, it looks professional, and it looks like you guys, deserve the connections that you just spoke about that you guys already have. So tell us about that. Like, for maybe podcasters that we have that are friends that are, or not even our friends, that have just stumbled upon this and want to hear about, keeping it professional and trying to maintain a professional atmosphere. Can you speak on that? Because I know you have a lot of experience doing that.
Yeah, well, for me, I try to present things in a way that I would like to see a podcast presented, if that makes sense. Something that would be attractive to me. I'm very lucky that I've got people like John Bloomer, who's done both our logos and and Uncle Jesse, who's on the podcast, who are amazing designers and can create videos and do anything that you ask them to do. Mm-hmm. So, having a great designer is a big help, because I'm no good at it, if I'm perfectly honest with you. I don't have that creativity. The professionalism, I would say, is I'm not one for swearing in podcasts. Have you noticed that I beep out all the swears in my podcast?
I have noticed, yes, but you can on this one if you'd like.
Don't tell me that. But no, I do feel that there has to be an air of professionalism, especially when you're representing something as big as the subreddit, because that deserves everything it can get for a huge community, and in any way that I can sort of do that service, I'm going to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, trust me, when I messaged the mods over there, and I knew, it was a long shot because we didn't have a lot of experience, but I just, I used to peruse, Reddit over there pretty frequently, and when I reached out to that, I was like, shit, what am I getting myself into? Because I know that a lot of people are gonna be looking at this, not just the plebs, if you will, that come on a Reddit and just chat, but like the big guys too, and like you said, you're privileged to get these people on, and you're surprised, and you get butterflies in your stomach and whatnot. But I mean, they check out your product and realize that it's a good thing, and you got to present yourself well in order to get these people even remotely interested. Because I mean, that's what it's about, man. That's what podcasting is about. It's like, you got to garner an audience, and if you're just unprofessional, if you're just somebody in front of a microphone just talking nonsense, then you're probably not going to go anywhere. So,
I think that comes with experience. If anyone ever wanted to get into podcasting, I would say do as many episodes down, put as many episodes down as what you can, because 4 people sit in a room can talk, but to actually put on a podcast can be a little bit of work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've got nothing but respect for the stuff that you guys do and all the great podcasts out there, because I know the amount of work that goes into everything that you do every single week.
Mm-hmm.
I know this YouTube fame was not easy. But the one biggest advice I would give to any potential podcasters is be Scottish. Be more Scottish.
Be more
It'll
Scottish.
get you far in life.
Well, Sasso, we're gonna have to work on that, big guy. You're gonna have to get more Scottish for us, all right?
Okay.
And you're gonna have to learn European soccer teams, or I mean football teams.
Yeah, football. None of this soccer rubbish.
No, that's soccer nonsense, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Ross, it's a real pleasure to have you here. Looking at the Xbox One Reddit, of course. I'm always intimidated on Reddit. I don't know why. I'm always lurking, and I'm afraid to post anything, because anytime I post something, like some mod somewhere is like, no, you have to take this down. Oh, no, we're going to warn you. No, you can't be in our community. You're getting kicked out. All just because I posted a link or something. I was like, oh, this is a review. And they're like, you can't post reviews here. And I'm not saying in the Xbox One Reddit necessarily. I'm just saying in general on Reddit. I still have to keep changing my Reddit names like every 3 days, like diapers or something.
Like Reddit's changing at the moment as well. That's another thing you may have noticed in your sort of social profiles that's on it. And I'm not a mod or anything on Reddit that I can really, comment on the rules. What I would always say is for someone in Reddit is take the time to read the sidebar for the rules. And it's probably not a place that you're wanting to try and self-promote. That's the only thing that I would ever say about Reddit.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the usual communities are like, we don't really want you coming on and promoting on here. We're here to chat about existing things or established places. So, yeah.
I did test out that theory. Like I posted, a video from Discovery that was on YouTube or something, and they said, oh, you can't self-promote. And I'm like, well, I'm not the photographer. And they're like, oh, you can't post this here. They still think it's self-promotion anyway these days. Like if you only have one post or 2 posts, So it's a hard time for me. But I mean, how you guys stick on it and stay professional. And the Xbox One Reddit, I got to give a shout out to the whole Reddit thread, like the team there, because they're very nice people, all of them. They're not as harsh as some other Reddit communities. They're very polite, they're friendly, and they always tell you the rules. If you make a mistake, they're nice about it. They're not like, hey, see you later, you're out of here forever.
Yeah, and I'm sure all the guys, I had the pleasure of speaking to nearly all the mods. We had them all on doing a script reading and back in episode 2 of Party Chat, and I speak to them in a chat, and they all seemed like very nice people who they're not paid. They give up their free time like you and me to help a community, and they probably deserve every little bit of praise that they can actually get.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys brought up this discussion, because I wasn't really going to go into this, but I think after some of the stuff I've seen on Twitter today, I would like to ask your opinion about this, because I know if there's one medium that you're more active on, I would say it's probably Reddit. And would I be correct?
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I've got an alt account as well. I've got one personal one that no one knows, and then I've got the one that people know for Party Chat.
Sure.
Because you can be judged on Reddit. So yeah, I do comment quite a lot on Reddit, yeah.
Right. So I guess the main question would be, do you, and of course, you lurk, the Xbox One subreddit, of course. I guess the discussion would be do you think that it's easier and more friendly to post on Twitter or post on Reddit? Which, I know Clowns just talked about having to change his names because of all the rules and stuff, but rules aside, if you're just posting and commenting, or even if you're not posting your own material, you're just trying to, contribute to a conversation, which one do you think is better and maybe more friendly? Or if they're both the same one, which do you think?
I would find it hard to compare. And I think it comes a lot down to age. One's a social media platform. One's essentially a classic message board. So one you can be very, very anonymous on. the other is not so easy to be anonymous on.
Mm-hmm.
So, I find it very, very hard to compare. Now, I've had negative comments, I've had everything on both mediums. If you put yourself out there, you're going to come across some negativity at one point. And I've not liked any of it, if I'm honest. You try your hardest not to take it personally, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
There's nothing else for it.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have to say that I have it less on Reddit, but that's maybe just because I'm very picky about the subreddits that I choose.
Yeah.
I have definitely had more abuse on Twitter.
Yeah, and I feel like, I couldn't speak about this on Reddit because I do, I peruse the subreddit a lot, but I don't post a lot. I get a lot of my information from the subreddit. I think I get more information from the Xbox subreddit, but more interactivity on Twitter. And, like for us, especially just to get the word out about the podcast and stuff, and to speak with people that are, coming to check out the show. It's easy to do on Twitter, but at the same time, like, sometimes it gets counterproductive as a community to discuss Xbox topics on Twitter versus the subreddit. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, well, I suppose Twitter isn't set. You're not segregated in Twitter into one set group. Everything's open. Whereas with the Xbox subreddit, for example, you are just focused with other like-minded people. So yeah, no, I would agree with that. Another thing to note is actually work. My job is social media throughout the day, so I get a lot of insight to that. But sometimes I don't post or do things on there because of that, and because it feels like work.
Right.
That makes sense.
If you do that as a job, then you don't. I'm also, people of a certain age like remember forums and things like that. So I tend to maybe sway before giving my thoughts and opinions on things on Reddit than what I would on Twitter.
Right.
Did you see me avoiding the question now?
I'm sorry?
Did you see me avoiding the question now?
Yeah, a little bit, but it was a good answer. It was a good thought of an answer. Assassin, you got any questions so far? Or?
Well, it's kind of it comes from some guy or J Street in the chat. It says, "What's your opinion on the whole Scalebound fiasco? Were you looking forward to the game or no?"
Well, I like Platinum Games. Platinum Games in my head were always a great developer. But we Jez Corden on a couple of weeks ago, and he shone some light in the whole situation. And ultimately, Microsoft as a business took a decision that financially this wasn't going to work out. If they're going to make a profit, they're going to release it. And I don't know what went on behind the scenes, but it could not have been a good situation if they've decided to cancel that game after announcing it and showing all that gameplay footage and everything else, because the only person that loses out on that is Microsoft. So yes, to answer your question, I was looking forward to Scalebound, but I'm not now disappointed that I'm not going to get to play it.
So that's a good transition. That's a good transition, I think, into...
I got to ask something off of this, though.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, please.
All right, so... a while ago, we had Lauren on. She's an Lionhead Studio social media manager, and now what's that? Albion Girl. Yep. And actually, Graham Boyd was watching our show when she was on it, and he said hi to us. But yeah, I just wanted to say, like, how did you feel about the whole Fable Legends thing? Because for me, when I played the closed beta, it felt like it was almost complete. Like, it felt like to me like they could have launched it in its state, maybe just added a few more or maps or levels or whatever they had to do. And I was just heartbroken when they said that they were going to cancel it.
Yeah, no, that is one that I really don't understand, because any interaction with the game I had, it seemed very, very far on. Fable is an established IP. So did they feel that the game somehow was going to damage the brand? I don't know.
Oh, that's a good possibility. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Yeah, ultimately there has to be a quality perspective, as we've seen in the past. When you're putting the Microsoft Studios logo on there, and you're putting on a brand as loved as Fable. Maybe they just didn't feel it was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Is Fable really popular from your side of the pond?
It's popular worldwide. Anyone I've spoken to over the world has got a particular love for Fable, even though Winehead and everything is quintessentially British. You know, it's got that British feel about it. I don't know about you guys if you feel that way. And I think, I think it's a worldwide franchise rather than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there could be a lot of love for it here because it feels quite local.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, I feel like in the UK, I feel like people are more devastated about the Fable news than over here. Like, trust me, I thought Fable Legends was solid. I would have played that. I was in the beta. I enjoyed it. And I am saddened by the news of it going away because, you know, first and foremost, I am an Xbox fan. So when it comes to, you know, good, rich, deep intellectual properties, I want Xbox to have those, and that kind of segues into the next topic, the state of the Xbox, as I call it, going into E3. That where, you know, haven't been a lot of leaks. Assassin's thankful of that because he doesn't want to deal with any leaks. But at the same time, you know, it's hard to get excited about the state of the Xbox right now, especially when what we just talked about, like, you know, Fable's gone. You know, Scalebound, huge game that they were pumping for years out at E3. Lots of advertisements included in there. You know, AAA. Not to make a pun, but their platinum lineup, if you will. They canceled that. So, in terms of the state of the Xbox for you, with those kinds of IPs going out the door and nothing that we know of on the horizon, do you think the state of the Xbox is kind of grim right now, or do you think it's, you know, people have to just wait and see and stop, stop being harsh on Xbox, if you will?
I think it's on social media. The state of the Xbox isn't very good right now, from what all the chatterings amongst our own community and outside of that. I personally think Microsoft have been around for long enough and are smart enough as a business. They understand what we need to see at E3, the things that we need to do. People are tired of getting games which are announced and cancelled. They're let's face it, they are. No one wants to see that. They're tired of getting stuff announced too early. Give us some gameplay, give us some solid releases, and people will leave the conference happy. I'm glad that they're doing things outside of E3. Every week at the moment, we're getting something new. Mixer, they could have easily put Mixer into the E3 presentation. Mm-hmm. The Scorpio specs could have easily been delayed to the presentation. Mm-hmm. You know, there is a lot that they could have left for that. And that actually excites me. If they're giving this news right now, how good is E3 going to be?
Right.
What are all these amazing things that they're going to show? Now, the one thing that I have to say, early in the cycle was lacking and is now in absolute full swing, is the ID Xbox program. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They literally are swinging at the moment. Like the amount of games and the quality games that are going to be coming to ID Xbox, that is what I'm actually interested in, not just the AAAs that everyone's focused on. Today, Tokyo 42 released. We interviewed the devs this week. Yep. If anyone's had a chance to play that is a fantastic game. Hours of fun right there. It's £15. Like, don't know what that translates in dollars. Probably $16 after Brexit. But like, there's so much good quality stuff, and let's face it, we've not even seen everything from Sea of Thieves yet.
Right.
Or Crackdown.
Yep. Well, you know, everything that comes out is perceived. I think everything that comes out about AAAs, you're right about ID at Xbox, definitely coming out swinging. There's very little to say about that can be negative. In my opinion.
I gotta say something about ID at Xbox. I agree. I think it's amazing, and that they must be really busy. I don't know if you know this, but I met with Inferno in Boston, and we went to PAX, and I got to meet Chris Charla, and really? He actually gave me his Xbox lanyard because I was wearing a PS4 one because that's all that they were giving out there, and he was like, "Oh, take this Xbox one." And and we were talking for a while with Chris, and Chris was supposed to be on our show, and then I guess he got so busy we haven't heard back from him like since then, and that was back in March.
Yeah, I've never the pleasure of meeting Chris. I've met his European counterpart, Agostino. They were very kind enough to invite me down to London. I met Agostino just in February there, and that was absolutely amazing. And I don't know about you, when you met Chris, did you not just see how tired they were from working?
Yep. No, I agree on that.
But the passion for it, like when I was talking about games I was excited for, I could see in Ago's eyes that he was so excited for it, and I think that's what makes me really excited for the ID program.
Mm-hmm.
Probably at the moment, probably more so than the AAA. Maybe that's an age thing, I don't know. But
No, and that's kind of the. Oh, go ahead, clowns. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, there's so much passion, and these guys are so busy, and they got so much work ahead of them at these conventions that they don't really have free time for themselves. And when we were there, we also met with Steinkin, Josh Stein, and he almost lost his voice, I guess.
Oh, Stein, not Steven. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like losing his voice, I guess, from like talking so much at the conventions. And we met with MK the Worst from Mixer as well, and at the time it was Beam, and she was like handing out us the last Beam lanyards that they had. So they work really hard promoting the Xbox brand and being interactive with the community.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Russ.
No, go on.
No, I was gonna off that point. I was gonna say, like, people see that dedication in the community. I know there's been, people that have been dissatisfied with a job that, certain people in Xbox higher ups have done. But me personally, I've seen these people, like Clown just said, seen these people in the flesh, not just their interaction on Twitter and in the news stories they put out in press releases. I've seen these people in the flesh, and if anything, they're working, overtime on promoting the brand. And I think Xbox as a brand is going nowhere, to kind of just bring it home to the state of the Xbox topic. I think the brand is going nowhere. I think they are working hard. I don't think they're giving up on the brand at all. I don't think people are saying on Twitter, people are saying on Reddit that they're worried about, Microsoft giving up on the brand. They're not working hard enough to get, licensing deals and everything, things that were not even a big deal until this generation, these licensing deals that apparently mean everything now. So what's your feeling on that kind of stuff? Would you agree that they're working kind of overtime on getting, the promotion done? And would you agree that, Xbox is not going anywhere and people should just relax about, it dying off?
Yeah, I would certainly relax about that. The Xbox as a brand is going nowhere. Now, how many Windows 10 PCs are there in the world that have got the Xbox app, Game Bar, consoles under the TV? We're forgetting a new console launches this year. That's the one thing. Marketing deals, I can understand people's concern, but what you have to remember is that we're in the minority of the average gamer. A lot of gamers out there don't even notice marketing deals. But is that the fact that we don't have any, is that going to influence their purchase because it has PS4 logos? I don't know. I'm not paid enough money or high enough to really understand all that. But I just feel, wait until E3, wait until they see what they're announcing. Are all these marketing deals going to be quite Scorpio-tied? There is probably a lot of games still to come out in the next, or to be announced within the next month, to come out this year and next. And how many of them are they going to have marketing deals for? Because I tell you, if you remember last year, Xbox had just as much as PS4. And although they have a lot coming out at the moment, there's nothing to say by Christmas of this year that Xbox won't have more than them. So wait until after E3 and then ask people to make their judgment then.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the marketing deals about people being worried, I think it's like you just said, the average person doesn't know, who got that marketing deal or not or whatever. But, I've seen people say that they know people, this is of course anecdotal evidence, so I can't really present it as fact. But let's just say, for instance, I've seen people say that they thought Destiny 2 was only a PlayStation game. You know what I mean? Like a big game like
Yeah.
that because of the marketing deal. You know, they don't know it as a marketing deal. They don't know it as Sony has the deal over Microsoft, but they know it as, you know, Destiny 2 is a Sony game. So now I don't know how it is in Europe. I don't know if people are feeling that. You know, I know PlayStation is the dominant console when it comes to European
100%.
sales.
Yeah.
So, but do people are people going a little overboard in that? Should they be doing a little more research, or I don't know how to approach this because I see people saying stuff like this, and I'm just like, aren't you looking up whether to see Destiny 2 is coming out to Xbox if you see just PlayStation logos on it? You know, I feel like people are worried about these marketing deals, you know, giving the impression of being exclusives when you should probably look into it and see if it's exclusive before you make that call. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is the other thing that you could look into is that some companies may be worried about the games that they've got coming out exclusive later than this year and are having to put their hand in their pocket to make it look as if games that are exclusive to them. You could read it both ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to touch up on what Inferno said before we get off the topic.
Yeah.
But like, I go to my Walmart or I go to my GameStop, and unfortunately, most of the marketing material here in the U.S. does say, you know, available on PlayStation Now, exclusivity to PlayStation, et cetera, et cetera. And I've gone up to the counter at GameStop to buy something, and I've heard the employee there tell like somebody else, oh no, you want to get this on PlayStation because it's going to get content for like a year before the Xbox guys do. So you want to, you know, and that kind of hurts the spirit a little bit because this person might be a casual gamer, might have more than one console, no favoritism across the board whatsoever, and he's being steer-led into PlayStation based on the employee's knowledge of only the marketing material.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. I can understand that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's disappointing to always hear that. But I don't know about you guys. I just get this feeling in my head that a PlayStation feels like a younger person's console, whereas the Xbox is almost the adult console. And even the way it's aimed and marketed feels that way, that there's sort of a split age group with a small crossover in between.
Yeah,
I
definitely agree with you on that. I think there is that perception, that impression that is out there. I think, you know, when I talk to my adult friends, a lot of my adult friends, you know, think of Xbox as the pace to play. They think of PlayStation. When I hear PlayStation, they're like, oh, well, I like PlayStation because I grew up with PlayStation, because I remember having a PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2. So that gives off the impression to me that it is, you know, more marketed to, you know, to kids. But then again, like, I feel like Sony is now making this push to cover all of their bases. They're spending so much money on PlayStation, and you know, whether it be PS Now, whether it be PS View, whether it be marketing deals, whether it be, you know, exclusive content for video, sort of like Netflix has. So that kind of gets into my next question for you, in that, do you think that Microsoft really does, you know, going into E3 and coming out of E3, do you think Microsoft has to put some more money into Xbox as a whole in order to be on par with Sony's spending on the console? Because not totally, I mean, if you want, you can ignore the marketing deals. If you want, you can include them, because they're definitely included when it comes to spending money. But Sony has also gone, you know, after like Spotify for exclusivity on that. You know, that's perceived as something that's a benefit. You know, people like Groove, but Spotify is really universal. You know, so Sony's really pulling out all the big shots when it comes to money. So do you think Xbox needs to spend more money going forward?
You know, I'm never going to say that a company shouldn't spend more money. I think it is a hard one. The thing is Sony have got every single commitment to the PS4 because they generally don't have much else. You know, their TV division is not doing well now, and the rest of it isn't doing well. Even their tablet hasn't sold as well as I think they initially thought. And with Xbox, you know, they were like, yeah, we're going to pay this money to get a Spotify deal. and it just does pull money away from what they could get with Groove. So yes, I understand for us, the fans, it can be disappointing, but I can also see it from the Microsoft side and say, why would we pay money for something that we could make money off of?
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. I mean, it is all a
Yeah.
business, and I think as fans, like we kind of opened with this topic about Scalebound, like fans are crushed about Scalebound happening, but if you're being honest and you look into the business side, you understand why it had to be done. And you kind of understood that it probably wasn't going to do too well in sales, and that, after all the money they've already thrown in, the money they were going to have to keep putting in order to make it, where it had to be on that AAA level.
Yeah.
You kind of understood it. So I think that's a good point, Ross. I think when people think about Microsoft needing to spend more money, they need to understand that Microsoft can put out a similar product like Groove, make money off of it, and in some ways make it better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Look at what Apple have done. They've got how many devices that are all can link together and everything now, and Microsoft are only just quite doing that recently. With Windows 10 and making sure everything connects. There's a lot more to come with all these individual things, like listening to the music, and I think SoundCloud came today to Xbox as well.
Absolutely,
which
yep.
I don't know how did they pay for that. Like, is this just SoundCloud trying to get out there in platforms because they've got? I think the point I'm trying to make is, I would actually, from a spending perspective, would rather that they put the money into things like they've been doing, developing their controllers and developing their consoles to make them better. Maybe acquiring studios, because people want exclusives and they want those games. And I would much rather see that than a brand I'm already aware of on my Xbox, or an advert on my TV. I would rather that was spent on that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that the overarching idea that I kind of had for this topic was, what must Xbox do at E3 and beyond? I guess I didn't put, but and beyond, to assuage the fears of fans. And I think you hit it right in the head. Like, put the money into acquiring people that will make worthwhile experiences, and shut up everyone that is saying that because there's no AAAs, there are no games. And we talked about the ID at Xbox, over 1,000 ID at Xbox games. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. And yeah, they're indie experiences. I think a lot of gamers are kind of stuck in the rear, stuck in the old way of thinking that it needs to be AAA or it's nothing. There are a lot of really valuable, really worthwhile indie experiences. Outlast 2, Rhyme, which just came out. These games are fantastic games, just because they're not AAA.
There's one that I was really looking forward to. You may have heard of it, Inferno, called Cuphead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they gotta, and that's a good point, because those games have to come out. Like, those games, Microsoft has got to get those things out, and maybe it comes out this year, and maybe it blows everyone away. But I think going forward, yeah, those big indie games that Xbox has been touting, Below, I guess you can throw in there. I don't really like Below. I played it at E3. I didn't think it was that great. Ashen, a lot of these games that they've touted, they need to make sure those come out in an orderly fashion, and I don't know how it was over in Europe. Maybe you can give a perspective on that. But Cuphead, like, blew everyone here away. Like, everyone wanted Cuphead.
Oh, everyone did. I think everyone across the world did. That art style was amazing. It's art style that pulls you in. I'm sorry to say, it wasn't the gameplay that pulled me in. It was the art style. And when I actually sat down and thought of it, I was like, progressively hard bosses back to back. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get into this.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to get frustrated and finally break my Elite controller off my wall. But I had to get the Elite in there, didn't I? But I'm sort of glad that they maybe have made it a bit more consumer friendly. They've added in the bits in between the bosses, which are going to make it a lot more appealing to a mass market, because it's instantly more recognizable. And again, because of the art style, it's going to go. I haven't tried Below. I've never actually managed to try it.
Oh, no? Oh, I've played it a couple times. It's hard. It's as hard as it looks, man. It's really, really tough.
I'm really looking forward to Blow. Yeah, I just want to see more like that, unique games, regardless of AAA or ID.
Exactly.
Just something unique.
Exactly. And yeah, we're primarily an Xbox podcast, but we game on everything. And I have a PlayStation. Clowns have a PlayStation. Assassin did at one point, but sold it and regrets it.
Yeah.
So we like PlayStation games. I'll admit, Last of Us, Uncharted, those games are fantastic. Naughty Dog
Brilliant.
is top of the line. And in your opinion, Ross, do you think Microsoft has it in them to pull someone like that, or do you think that talent is so unique that that's just not going to happen? We should just, give that up.
No, let things go round and round and roundabouts. There's going to be another studio which is going to rise to the top for every. I hate to say it because I feel really sorry for them, but for every single Uncharted Naughty Dog, you've got Hello Games
Yeah.
at the moment who are not exactly liked in their own community. We not too long ago had Bungie making Halo.
Yeah.
I know they've moved on,
Yeah.
but who is going to be? I'm more interested to see who is going to be the next developer, the next big developer, than who is they currently got. Everyone knows Naughty Dog going to put out a good game. Who are Xbox going to bring in to bring a brilliant game next?
Mm-hmm. Just real quick.
Also, I just want to say one thing. Actually, one of the most underrated games I think of this generation is Quantum Break.
Quantum Break.
It's an exclusive. I think it's an absolutely fantastic game. I love the TV elements, and I think partnerships like that to make games could be so important for Microsoft in the future.
Yeah. And that's the thing. People tend to forget that Microsoft did have a spree of excellent AAA games at the beginning of this gen, and now. Just because you haven't seen a few and they've kind of, shifted focus to a little bit of the idea at Xbox side, and they don't have their own, in-house, first party devs. I know Naughty Dog isn't technically in-house, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, they are. For Sony, that doesn't mean that Xbox is lesser of a brand. Like, there are experiences on Xbox that are very good, and who knows what's going to be at E3. Do you expect Ross at E3? Do you expect some big hard-hitting games that I know you said we expect stuff we've never heard of, but do you expect things on the level of Quantum Break, on the level of Sunset Overdrive to be revealed?
I think they have something up their sleeve that they've been holding. And I think that's why they've been so quiet. I think Phil is sitting in a corner of a room somewhere right now, quietly laughing to himself. He's just sitting there getting ready to hit the send button on Twitter with all the information, and he pulls it back. He phones up Jez Corden and just goes, "I'm not telling you anything," and hangs up. It's like, I just think they've got something up their sleeves that we've not heard anything about, and we're going to get another moment like backwards compatibility that is going to blow our minds, and we're going to go a bit wild about it. I think for a while, up until about 4 months ago, I thought that was going to be VR. I think they're going to go with Scorpio. Here is Oculus. Right now, out the box, Oculus works right here. Right. And here is these games which you can play on Oculus, and it's going to make it easy for developers to pull that across. But now, with the way VR going, I don't think that would really blow people's minds.
Exactly, yeah. I was just thinking that, yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see. It's really, really going to be interesting to see. But I don't know, I'm excited for E3. I love this time of year. Absolutely love it.
Assassin is so excited. He told us that he was going to be off Twitter starting tomorrow, right, Assassin?
Yeah, I'm tired of the leaks, because I like that surprise when Phil Spencer's on the stage and he does some, mic, drop moment, and it gets run like 2 minutes before the conference.
I like the Xbox One S.
Yeah.
I came up with a great idea, Assassin. Well, since you won't be on social media, for a little bit, I figured I would use the ZPCI handle on Reddit and post some stuff in the forums, just in case, I get suspended or banned or whatever. They'll be like, "Oh, it's ZPCI Assassin," and you won't be able to defend yourself because you're AFK from the internet.
Go and sell some Rocket League keys. That's totally safe on Reddit.
All right, Assassin. Way to go, bud.
That may or may not be true. Um,
Assassin, what do you got, bud? Anything for us?
Now, what do you think about Recore? I personally hate it, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
Played it for 10 minutes and put it back in. Never tried to play it again. Just not for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People have got their games that they like, and it just never grabbed me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was another big one they pushed, and at E3 it was big news. They said it was going to only be $40, and everyone was like, "Oh, AAA title only $40," and look where that went. So I mean, and this is the thing that I almost feel bad for Xbox, for Microsoft about, because they've come out with big news and big hard hitting things that in another, I feel like last gen would have been huge, if they were behind in last gen. Of course they were ahead last gen, but customized controllers on the website. Like when I heard that, I was blown away. Like when I saw James Shields talking about that at E3, I was just blown away. And people almost think, oh, there's too many controllers, not enough games. You know what I mean? People just discount the fact that you can make your own controller. There's a bunch of custom controllers. This is stuff people really wanted back in the day, but now it's kind of like, well, whatever. Same thing with Recore. Like if they came out with a game like that for $40 back in the day with all that content and a brand new IP, people would go nuts for it. Now it's like, oh, I know why it was $40 because it was shit, essentially. You know what I mean? It's just, I feel bad, man.
Yeah, not every game's going to grab everyone. I know people that played Recore that absolutely loved it, and they could not understand why I couldn't get into it. I also think, just to refer to the other point we were talking about, controllers, we live in a very collectible age at the moment. People like to have things on their shelf. And with streaming, I've got my lovely bookshelf behind me, right there. If I could put another couple up and get all my figures on it, that'd be quite good. People are streaming and doing, by the way, it's not real, just for them watching at home, it's wallpaper. But, like, people want those things to display. It's showing off. That's what you're doing. You're showing off the things that you have. You can't wait to post to social media or go and stream and show them your brand new controller that no one else has, or only a select few have. And companies are going to market on that, and I don't think that's a bad thing. They're going to capitalize on all of our insecurities as such about wanting to be better than Inferno.
Bob Duck and Weave asked a good question in the chat. Actually, a couple good questions in the chat I want to get to. First one from Bob Duck and Weave. What do you think Scorpio will be called when they reveal it at E3, Ross?
Scorpio.
Just Scorpio, you think, huh?
Xbox Scorpio. I think it's went too far.
Yeah.
Anything else at the moment is going to feel like a disappointment.
Yeah.
Zune, go for that. It's not been used before.
Yeah. Clowns, what do you think, bud? What's it going to be called?
I think it's going to end up getting stuck with Scorpio. I mean, we got the symbols out there. We got the pins out there. We got like fire and marketing from the marketing team on the Scorpio term on Twitter. As long as they can get the marketing branding rights for it across the board, I think that's going to be it. I'd prefer Xbox Lizard just because of Tim Dog and the mirror and the lizard, but I don't think my dream's going to happen.
No, I don't think so. Assassin, what do you think, bud? What's it going to be called?
I'm really bad with naming some things. I mean, it's probably going to stay with Scorpio just because, you guys said, everyone knows the name, just like how people still say Beam instead of Mixer. But it's probably going to stay Xbox One something, I have a feeling. And it's going to probably let us down.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, Ross, you made a good point. Like, Scorpio's been everywhere. Never can I recall a time where a code name has gotten as much play as Xbox Scorpio, for a product. I can't think of another time where it's gotten so much play. And of course, everything has code names, you know what I mean? Everything has internal code names. And this one just was let out of the bag because they announced it a year ahead at E3, and that's what they had it called. So that was it. And so everyone's talking about a Scorpio. You get Digital Foundry as Scorpio. You get articles here, left, right, and center as Scorpio. So it makes sense to call it Scorpio. I thought that they would call it Xbox One Plus, just with a plus symbol. And this is hear me out. Hold on, hear me out. Because if you call it Xbox One Plus, I think that suggests not only does it follow the naming convention that's going on right now, like Samsung with the Galaxy S8 Plus, or with iPhone where it's like iPhone 7 Plus. If you call it Plus, it suggests that it still is part of Xbox One. And I think that's going to be a big hurdle for them, is that people are going to think that, Xbox One, or, common people, not us gaming veterans, if you will.
I guess the game on royalty, like speaking to the common people.
No, I'm sorry, that was a bad impression. No, but what I meant to say is, somebody, like we were talking about earlier, somebody just walks into the store and just sees the two. I feel like if they call it Scorpio, I feel like they may have a problem with it suggesting that it's part of the same product line. And I know that was one of the big pushes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
like for me, I think from a marketing perspective, you can, with a different name, you can almost capitalize that on that.
I gotcha.
Like Xbox Scorpio, people don't know that that it's not a new console in some ways. They're going to go down there and see, oh, that's a brand new console from Xbox.
Gotcha.
Let's pick that up. If you put down Xbox One Plus, then you don't get that. And a helicopter just went over me, if you can hear a noise, by the way.
Just barely. It's fine.
I just want to tell you guys, I just tweeted out a picture that I screen cap. Mr. Moody said something funny earlier, and I don't think a lot of people notice this. But as we have the picture up on YouTube, it says the state of Xbox. What must Xbox do at E3 to assuage the fears of fans? And Mr. Moody said that he would like to see Phil Spencer come out on stage with Ross Miller's face on his shirt.
Oh, I did miss that.
Hashtag Rossi's face at E3. Let's get that going, or something along there. I was going to say Ross on Phil, but that's something entirely different. But Moody, if you can make that happen, I don't know what I'll do, but it'll be good for you.
Moody actually said something else that I wanted to point out. Okay, Moody says Sony doesn't have anything to lose at this point. He was talking to Jay Street in the chat, but it's a good point. He thinks Sony doesn't have anything to lose, and Microsoft has everything to lose at this point, because Microsoft's behind, and they're definitely behind where you're at, Ross, and in Europe. Definitely behind. In the US, it's a lot closer. And I know they're making a push to get into foreign markets like China and do stuff in Japan. But Microsoft is the ball is in Microsoft's court, so to speak. So, Ross, do you agree with that? Do you think that's true? Do you think Sony has nothing to lose, or do you think with the Scorpio announcement it totally could flip?
Well, I do think Sony have got everything to lose, and I think Microsoft can only win at this point. The Sony are never going to totally obliterate Microsoft that they just give up. So, I think Microsoft have got everything to gain. But I've said this a few times before in Lone Show and others, but we've still not seen the Phil Spencer console. This isn't his console. And I don't know about you, but I get the feeling that when we see the Phil Spencer console, we're going to be impressed, because it's made by a true gamer, lots of experience. He's worked his way right up Microsoft from different divisions. And I'm just excited to see what his full-on console looks like.
That's right. I mean, it's easy to blame Phil, but I mean, can you really blame a guy who took it over in its darkest times? No. And made it to what it is?
I don't think you can blame him at all. I think he's done a lot to bring round existing fans. To keep people in a time as well when people own two consoles. I own a PS4. I make no secret of that. I'm a gamer. It's just the Xbox is I said X-Boys there. What the hell's that? Xbox is my platform of choice. Mm-hmm. But, I think you do have a second console market that I think they've maybe been going for with all these perks, as I like to call them, with backwards compatibility and Games Pass that launched this week, things like that. And I really don't think we would have seen any of that if it was 360 to PS3 days. I think they could have just kept on rolling along. There wasn't the need for it. But you're wanting that, you're not only wanting people to pick the primary console as Xbox, you're wanting those buys for the secondary console. I think that's quite underrated. I think the second console buyers, there's a lot of us. are a lot higher than what they were last generation.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree.
And Ross, how do you feel about when people, some people say, oh, Xbox needs to do more, and then the common response that you get right now from really diehard defenders of the brand, they'll say, well, Xbox is not competing with Sony. Xbox and Microsoft are competing with Google, and they're competing with Apple, all those big Amazon-style web service and cloud service companies.
Yeah, finger in every pie is what I'd like to say. They're still competing with Sony on the level. How much does Phil Spencer think about other parts of his business, really? It's not his responsibility. I would probably that Xbox stayed focused on Xbox and left the rest of Microsoft to do what they want to do and fight those. Is mobile gaming as big over here as what it seems? I don't think the money involved is the same as what it is for consoles.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know mobile developers. We had Ben on from last week. We were absolutely. I know Ben. I've met Ben a couple of times.
Yeah.
And then they make mobile games, and this was their first console release.
Right.
Do you think there was a reason why they wanted a console release?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah. As they say, no more money in console and mobile games anymore.
But it's just more risk. You can have a hugely successful game with amazing microtransactions and your phone that does so well. And for every one of those, there is 5,000 that just do not even break even.
Yeah. Yeah. Clowns or Assassin, you get anything else before we wrap up here? Or?
I'm just glad that, Ross feels the same as me, that I think, in the long haul, Phil still should stay focused on Xbox and be there for Xbox regardless of how many apple pies Microsoft has in other business ventures. I do think that Xbox is a strong brand and it needs to remain strong. And I think that we should not rely on the cloud backing up Xbox. I still feel Xbox should remain its own separate division geared towards marketing and games and accessories for the Xbox brand, not to combine with Windows.
Mm-hmm.
Not to combine with Windows.
When I say that, I mean, I don't think that Windows and Xbox should merge and become one division. I have a fear. I have a fear that could happen.
I suppose a positive way to look at it is, would you not like that there was a slight crossover to use some of the talent from Windows to make Xbox better, and vice versa, with them still being individual products? That's the way I'm hoping that it goes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
I'm really positive about Xbox, aren't I?
I mean, you got to be right. You're an official podcast of the subreddit. No, but even so, I mean, yeah, I mean, for some people it's easy to be down on Xbox, but for some people it's hard to be it's easy to be optimistic. It's really easy to be optimistic. And I think this E3 is the place to do it. I think they have to assuage fans here. I mean, E3, they've got 90 minutes. And then, of course, all these other side meetings. They've got the whole week of E3 to kind of turn this around and make people feel confident in them again as a system that really puts out great content that people want to play. Make Xbox the place where people want to play,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, perfect.
Assassin?
Do you think... What? Sorry, Fran?
Go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
Do you think Steam and Microsoft ever, have, some type of partnership to have, stream Steam games to the Xbox, because we can stream the Xbox to PCs? Do you think they'll ever have something like that?
No, because Valve aren't very nice. That is my simple answer, and I actually think that Microsoft, is it EA Origin, the Ubisoft version of it as well, they should all club together and try and come up with something solid to take down the Steam domination of it all, because I find it particularly unhealthy, if I'm honest, on the PC market. I like to see Microsoft what they're doing. People don't like the Windows Store. It's still relatively new on Windows 10. Crossplay Buy or was it Play Anywhere is going to help a bit with that.
Definitely.
But until someone can dethrone Gabe, I don't think anything like that will ever happen, because Valve have got no need to ever allow that to happen.
Right. Yep. The competition's starting to come, I think, full-heartedly for Steam, but they're just dominating right now. And if it doesn't, and the sad thing is that at one point maybe it would have been an advantage for Steam to do that with Microsoft back in the 360, but now they have everything to lose, nothing to gain, I feel, by doing it. As cool as that would be, like, that would be really, really cool if they announced that at the C3. I don't think they will, but if they did, I mean, that would be the moment. You know what I mean? That would be the win. But
you can see Gabe getting wheeled out and waving to the fans. Sorry, walking out, waving to the fans, and it's it would be an amazing moment, but pipe dream.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Ross, we've hit 1 hour of podcasting.
Yeah.
I know that's a little over the time that we said we were going to have you, and a little under the time that you said you had Max, so this works out perfectly.
It does work. Yeah, I'm now divorced, though, unfortunately. But, no, I'm kidding.
So we appreciate you coming on. I know it's late there. It was a great episode. We really want to have you on again, of course, if you would be willing to do it, to come on for one of our regular shows, of course. And I want to congratulate you guys. I don't think it was this month, but maybe last month, the Party Chat podcast turned 1. Was that correct?
Yes, it was. Yeah, Major was back on for her first birthday. I done my usual singing for John done that, Bob done that logo as well. I done my usual singing, which I do for each of the episodes that are the sort of big ones. For some reason, I decided to do that. It was amazing. It was an amazing episode. But I'll tell you something, that anyone that ever does podcasts that knows about editing, that took, I think it was 21 hours.
Yeah. That is an editing nightmare. I never want to have that happen ever. I mean, I get uneasy when we're over like 5 people, let alone 21. So
it's all the birthday messages been layered together and made to sound good and all the same levels and everything. It's impossible.
Yeah, so. Definitely. Ross, why don't we let you tell us where we can find you on personally, and then of course tell us where we can find Party Shot Podcast.
Yeah, well, myself personally, easiest place is probably Twitter, which is RossM84. My gamer tag is RossM1984, so I couldn't get them matching, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. You can find Party Chat Pod for the Party Chat Podcast on Twitter, and it's actually on the front page of the subreddit now and in the sidebar. If you go to reddit.com/r/Xbox One and either click on podcast or the picture of down the bottom right hand side roughly, you'll get straight to every single episode. All the interviews, all the links, all the comments are all there in one handy little place. So.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much. Of course, everyone go check out Party Chat Podcast. It's excellent, absolutely excellent. And we'll have Ross on again for one of our regular shows, so tune in for that. If you like the show, obviously, thumbs up, like this thing. If you disliked it, feel free to dislike it. Just let us know why you didn't like it in the comments below, or hit us up on Twitter. 4GwQPodcast is our Twitter handle, or you can hit us up individually by our individual Twitter handles, which have been cycling below. Thank you.
Bob's just reminded me to mention the fact that we're on Mixer as well, with the Party Chat Pod team. I think he's been working on our graphics for that, so I think he'd feel quite bad if I didn't at least mention the fact that we're now streaming as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Dude, I'm going to have to hit the Bob Duck and Weave for to see what he can do, because we've been looking for somebody to redesign some of our stuff, and there are a lot of great designers out there in the community, but it's good to see some different styles. And Clowns, you love his style of his YouTube pick, right?
Yeah, I think it's artistic. It's amazing. And he said that he might be able to help me out with the clown and do some cotton candy or something, and not a Tommy gun. So nice. I'll check it out. Yeah.
All right, guys, that's it for us. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the podcast, regularly scheduled 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll let Ross go back to his wife and go to bed in the late hours of the UK. So see you guys.
Sack that. I'm having a beer and playing some Rocket League. I'm just getting shot at you guys. That's all it was.
All right, take it easy, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
See ya.